Hey, my name's Travis. I'm making this video today to kind of put out there who I am, and I'm an onion. I have a lot of layers. I started out in marketing as a boy, and I was kind of like a cocky little kid, and when people asked me at 16 what I did for a living, I told them I was the solution, and the solution to what they would ask, and I would say, to your problem, and they would get an attitude and say, what's my problem? And so I kind of related that to what I do now, right? My clients call me up, they have some sort of business they'd like to either launch as far as, like a campaign or a project or a new business, or they have some sort of hiccup or a growing pain or a new thing that they're trying to do and they don't know how to do it. And so I solve those problems for them, and I love it. I love it with every ounce of my being. So we've developed our business, my business. It started with my wife and I, my ex-wife and I, and it's transformed into what I call the Vulcan Ad Agency. And I've started a little nonprofit on the side so that I can give back to the community in any way I can. So. And that's called Invest in Seattle, and those two things just solve some key problems that I see businesses having all the time, and put me in a position where I can come by and hang out and see if I can't solve some more problems. I played baseball. I run an under 5-second 40-yard dash in high school, and so I'm like not the dude you want behind the plate, but I had a great arm, and my emotional intelligence led toward me being the right guy behind there. Baseball is a fairly strategic game, and so you have this pitcher and you have the catcher, and these guys are involved in every pitch of the game. And from the topical standpoint, it seems like they're just throwing and catching, right? However, there's a complex game and a lot of statistical information, a lot of research done, and a lot of test marketing done to figure out what to throw for that pitcher next, and what's least likely to be hit, or if it is hit, where it's least likely to become a guy on base. Furthermore, an out more likely than not, right? And so you take the laws of odds and you put them into your favor. And so when I look at solving a problem, I do the same thing. I'm going to talk to the batter, get a reaction. That reaction will tell me whether or not the next pitch should be a fastball or not. I can tell whether he's aggressive. I can tell whether he's not paying attention. I can tell whether he's looking back and forth to the stands a whole bunch and we might sneak one by him. I can tell whether or not he's going to choke up on the bat a little bit and expect it to come inside. So you understand some things about that batter. You can call the next pitch to be outside or inside or slow, change up, and dictate what he's doing to compensate for what I'm saying, and then give him something that he's not expecting. And thusly, the not expecting thing in this thing is what we expect. It's a win for us as the pitcher and catcher. So with that being said, that's the approach we take every time we run a marketing campaign. And when I say we, I typically have an intern or somebody working with me. I sold magazines door to door for 12 years. I had a rough childhood growing up, and at the time it was like, what? This is made for me, and so I was fairly good at it right away. Because my whole approach to selling was to not sell, right? One of the things you could do is offer something people want. So now you're not selling it; you're just advertising, right? But also the second thing is not to waste their time, and that's the key, right? And so when you go up to somebody's door, you tell them you're selling magazines, and then you inspire them because nobody wants magazines. So what we would do is, we get pretty crafty, but what I had to do was really quickly figure out what I did know about emotional intelligence and what I didn't know. And so what those meant to me were this gap that I had to fill of information. And so every day I went to doors, I had this a little bit of a science experiment. And so I was also taking notes. I was taking demographical notes about behaviors and things people wore and drove, and the way they treated their kids, and how they behaved, and the way they carried themselves, the way they walked to the door, the way they opened it, and a gazillion other factors. In addition to learning every dog breed and every car brand, and some of the key factors of your home and your style, and some of the things that you know, because people love to talk about themselves. So the more you can get them to talk about themselves, the more of those emotional intelligence keys that I get, and easier it was to inspire them. So with that being said, we have to have this approach with everything we do with my company, and that's reverse engineering. We're going to start with our problem and work out a solution, and we're not going to waste any time in that. We're going to find out the shortest path to our solution, and we're going to understand that not everybody has the same thought patterns I do. I learned my life from a backwards front approach, whereas my friend Jim here uses a more linear front to back approach. Yeah, we often need to adapt the way we communicate to communicate with each other, and thusly this is why we have such great conversations. And so I'm going to bring that approach every time I come into my client's workspace. The first thing I'm going to do is learn, and then the second thing I'm going to do is try to understand. I'm going to ask a ton of weird questions that don't seem like they relate to much, and then I'm going to put together what I think is an ideal structure of a strategy, and then for whatever we're trying to do, and then I will present that at a meeting, of which I'll get your feedback from, and need your help with, and thusly lay it on you and let you run with it, because ultimately I'm just an outside perspective looking in. Yeah, and I'm not you, and I'm not your passion, but I would love to be involved. So viral marketing is, named after a virus, right? So it's something that spreads, and so I think that a lot of people look at that like it's weighted very heavily. It's got a lot of pressure attached to it. It's got a lot of failure perhaps attached to it, and so if I'm attempting a viral marketing campaign and it doesn't go anywhere, is that viral marketing? And I would say, yeah, absolutely. So if you're going to plan for marketing, you're going to plan for your social media, and you're going to plan for some offline stuff. You're going to plan for several different things, right? And so viral marketing should be part of that. And I think viral marketing will encompass anything that you would give an attempt at it. So whether or not you have succeeded at becoming viral, which the levels of how much it's being shared, and what kind of views you get on a video, or how many shares you get in a social media post, there is no bar for that. So pat yourself on the back. You're giving an attempt, and I think the more times you attempt it, the better you'll get at it, the more you'll understand your audience. If you have a viral marketing campaign, the idea is that you create something marketing purposed that you're delivering through the internet and is being shared. So hopefully, what I would do is start by creating perhaps some sort of media, like a video. Maybe it's an infographic, maybe it's a meme, maybe it's some great resources. All right, so the great resources of this world, a leaked information piece, perhaps can go viral. So it could be a soundbite. However, what you don't want to do is create something that's lackluster, that has no value, right? So this is something that has high value, that has a high potential to be shared because of the value alone, all right? And so set aside what you're going to have to do to kind of propel this into the hands of some people. What you're really going to want to do is really put a think tank together as to what is our target market. Ideally, what would all of them want, right? And so it's kind of a huge question, and so that's why I was saying, don't get too bent out of shape when you're throwing ideas out into the wind, and you give them a shot and they come up flat. You'll learn something from it, and so document that. Make sure you have the great idea in place, you have a vessel of which to deliver it, and that you're shooting for your target market. So I think if you do those things, you have a resource that they would like, that you have a body of which to share it from. So you have a user base on Facebook, for example, or you have some ad money to put into YouTube, for example. Something to propel it into the hands of other people, with partnerships or conglomerates all over the state. And so, in this idea, I would say shoot for those people. Shoot for the people that would share it to then their people, right? And so you have these layers of shares that you have planned. So the first level is what you guys are doing, right? In-house. And we're going to deliver this right to the moms that are on a list of people we know we can contact by phone or we can contact by email. And so we've posted it on Facebook. It's a great video. They get a free blood test for their anemic son, right? And so everybody in your list is getting a free blood test. And everybody in their family gets a free blood test. So now you've created an idea that it has some sort of traction. It has the idea of to be shared, right? They don't have to do it. It's really easy to help share it because it doesn't seem like it's attached to helping you. It's helping their family member, right? And so anybody they know who's anemic, they can also come with them, right? And so now we've created these situations where it's easy for it to be shared. You're putting the first step forward. You've gotten this material in their hands for sure. So that first layer is taken care of. And the second layer is pretty predictable. You should say that, within our organization's reach, we have 100 ladies we know we can contact who are mothers of children that have anemic levels of blood, that they've been tested on, and then you come in for another test. So those 100 people will then have a scope of, reach within their geographic regions. And so you can do a little bit of data search, and you can know there's 10,000 people this could possibly reach. All right, so now your reach is 10,000 people, so your viral marketing campaign has the ability to go that far, right? So if you get 1,000 out of it, you've done well, I think. So my demographic, my age group, with children, our odds are we both know video games, or at least the terminology of it, right? If we're talking about a viral application in games today, where, same scenario, mother wants to get her anemic son in for a blood test, and perhaps these kids are the ones that don't want to go, right? And so now your challenge is that. And so you've realized this from your first campaign, and you're going into your second viral campaign, and now you're going to really charge this out. And so what you want to do is you want to expand your reach a little bit, and you're going to go for getting the kids excited. And the kids can get excited through the video games they love. Now the parents, they may not be into video games, but they can relate, and they know that their kids love video games. So if they think that they need this test, they would be all on board with sharing this with their children, right? And so that's a great thing. With that being said, what you're talking about could be gamification, right? Some sort of interactive, game, for lack of a better word, or interactive activity that the parent can do with the kid. It could be a scavenger hunt. It could be, something as cool as augmented reality, right? So you see that Pokemon game ever? Right? There's grown people and kids running around the city with their phones, right? And they have imaginary Pokemons popping up, and they're playing a game with them. But through their phone, they could see the cartoon-like characters, whereas the rest of the public can't. And they're gaining points, and they're earning trophies and that sort of thing. And this could be a family sport. This could be something you guys could all do, especially if you're trying to get the mother to have a tool to get this kid into the doctor, right? So now we have the vessel. So we talked about the vessel again. Now we want to talk about the delivery of it. We want to look at, from the last time, how many of those people actually opened my emails? Nobody answered my phone calls. What was the time of day? What was this? What was that? Right? And so we're going to look at all that analytical data, and we're going to go at it with a little bit smarter approach this time. And so now, is this viral marketing? Absolutely. I think this is a great opportunity for succeeding in comparison to last time, because we failed once, right? And so without failing, you would have no viral marketing the first time. So a lot of times people see these YouTube videos, right? And we talked about this gal. She did this drunk makeup tutorial. She's great. Really, I believe she had an interview out there that spoke about how she was really not doing all that well with her videos, and then that one propelled what was the viral nature of the internet, and it has tens of millions of views now, right? And so which then trickled down to the rest of her videos, which she had been making. And so, it takes some time. You're gonna have to create a body of work, usually. And so a lot of times, your viral effort could be like, we've amassed the biggest library of games kids could play with their mother during the day, and that could be huge. That could go viral. All right, so now what do you need? We need to deliver this in more than one avenue, right? So we went on Facebook, we made a video. What about memes? What about coming up with a multi-tiered approach, right? So the first time we put out the video, we have everybody we know share it, share and share alike. Everyone in our organization, all of our affiliates, all of our interns, all of the people who come in, maybe we set up a screen in our office that says, hey, do us a favor and share this, right? Look at this game, share this. So now you have an in-person view of that. So now we have this approach where time is the factor of whether or not you're successful. Hey, what if it takes 10 years for your item to go viral? Well, did you plan it that way? Maybe. Maybe not. However, most things you're expecting to get immediate, results, overnight kind of sensations, like, something that, you see on YouTube where you take your daughter to the dentist and she says a whole bunch of gangster stuff, and she's from like Wisconsin and middle of nowhere, and she's never even seen a gangster, right? And so it becomes really hilarious, and that gets shared amongst Wisconsin folks, and then that kind of branches itself outward. Within a couple of days, you're on the front cover of YouTube talking about your trending, and that is not the benchmark for viral marketing. So, viral marketing is one thing that I want to key in on. It's affordable. You're not utilizing a whole bunch of cash to get this thing going, and hopefully get it to where it's got to go. So if you keep throwing these Hail Marys in your organization, eventually you're going to land one which hits the scope and the reach that you're looking for. And I would say keep it in that same vein, amass a body of resources or games or the same vein of things that people can start to tune into, right? And so now you have a reputation for creating videos that are funny. And so every week you have a funny video coming out. Well, every week they'll tune in, right? And every week they'll tell their friends, hey, I didn't share this video with you last week, but this week you should see it, right? And so, be consistent is probably a great piece of information. Now, everybody's different, so market research is going to become very important here. You're going to want to use lean marketing, approach here, where you're doing a lot of learning before you get into the actual spending. I think it's not cheating to spend some ad dollars to get it propelled, depending on how big your organization is. Now, so let's back this up, and I don't want to get into too many specifics about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Let's say you have a low follower count, right? Both on Facebook, everywhere. You have no social media presence. You have very little people on an email list. You have nobody following you on YouTube. You have nobody that lives near you, right? You live in the middle of nowhere. You really have nobody right there to create some sort of, you can't hand it off to somebody, right? So now what do? Well, that ad dollar, if spent into the hands of that initial front, that first layer I was talking about of people that you've planned to give this to, should be a small amount of people, of which would then share it to 1, 2, 3, 4 people, or maybe even a group, right? And so maybe you plan a sports team, and you live in the middle of nowhere, and the idea is to get this bat to your team, right? And so in order to get the bat to your team, you got to make a video and give it to the first kid who buys bats. And so that was a little bit of an analogy. And so the research that's out there today will allow you to pinpoint what people are doing on the internet and what people want and what they're interested in, what they've been researching, what their family does, where they live, their demographical data, and you can get that from a number of resources. So, first off is the government. Data.gov will offer some great links to all the other government branches that offer information. The World Bank, just a plethora of stuff. So, if you need any help with that, you guys can get with me and ask me some questions, and I'll tell you where to go. However, wherever you're spending your ad dollar is probably the best bet to do your research. In the viral marketing aspect, compared to the everyday content you're putting on your website, right? So, everybody wants to think that every blog post they make is going to go viral. But the truth is, a lot of it is rapport building. A lot of it is informational. A lot of it is news and setting the tone for who you are. So, the views there just aren't getting traded, and so they're low, and so you have not a lot of traction on those, but they're great quality. And so I wouldn't steer away from those. Those are the types of things that are easy to write, right? So you already know about your organization. You already know what your tone and your tempo should be when you're delivering your message to your people. And so those are low on that scale. Let's say we have a scale, right? And on this end you have things you don't research at all. And on this end you have things that you research ahead of time heavily. And this end that you heavily research is going to be your viral marketing end. The other end is your tone and the things you already know. You don't have to research. Those are easy, right? Maybe those are just things you plan to quickly post up so that you have something fresh on your website all the time. It's good for search engines to index. It's also good to keep people informed. I mean, even if you're just throwing out a coupon code or whatever every week, do it, be consistent. But that's not really a viral marketing approach. A viral marketing approach is tactical. It has a plan to get from A to Z. What your scope is as far as what you're trying to reach and what you're trying to deliver to them. And then you're going to say, this is what we're going to try to hit. And if we don't hit it, then our plan is to regroup and look at the data that we've collected. And here's some ideas on what we could do, just ballpark little things that we could do to try to see what we can get as far as more data is concerned. So look, there's guys out there that get really popular, and they play video games, right? The #1 guy on YouTube, 111 million followers, I think was the last I heard. He has a YouTube channel that's subscribed 111 million times. He plays video games. You don't see his face.
Million.
Yeah, and his commentary is really funny. He has some friends over, and this is a model that's kind of taken off. However, you got to imagine how many times he's put videos out before people started to see them. There's got to be a library there. My boy, who loves video games, he's a 12-year-old kid. He loves this guy, right? And he watches video after video after video. Now, if he only had one video in his channel, I don't think he'd have the same effect. It would have to be a really great video, and something gargantuan would have to happen in that video, right? And so I think what he did was he started out where he was just kind of giving a demonstration of different things you could do within the games, right? And so now it's like, hey, you like this game? Check this out. This is how you could do this. This is how you could do that, right? And so now he's amassing this body of work which tells him what the people like, right? What the age of these people are. And then there's a comment section. So he's enticed them to comment below, give them some insight, tell them what to do. And now, when he puts something out, it's all viral because of the amount of viewership that he has. It's hard to argue that it isn't, right? And viral really is just the attempt at seeing as many people as you want, your resources to be seen by. Whether it's a video, whether it's a book to be read, or what have you, right? And so it could be just 100 people. It could be 100 people you gave to one, right? You only had the resources to deliver this to the one person. Maybe they're in Congress.
So, okay, why?
Right?
Why?
And so you had the resource
asking them to do something, maybe?
that you knew you could deliver this resource to the guy that runs his Twitter feed. But you didn't know whether or not it would get in the congressman's hands. And better yet, if that congressman would create a bill around it. Right? And so now in order to create a bill, or an idea for a bill, or a committee, you need more congressmen to get involved. So not only do you have to get that congressman on fire for the idea, you got to get him to share it. That's viral. Because you only gave it to the one intern running the social media campaign. And that's all your avenue had. So this is a small example.
So you're trying to have an impact.
You're trying to have an impact
Sure.
of which is shared as the means for traveling through your demographic and getting it to the viewership that your goal is. Okay? So if your goal is 100 people, then your 100 people you have on a list, you know already, it's or you can hand deliver it to them. No need for a viral effort, right? That's something that can be delivered in person, in hand, by mail, phone calls. You know, somebody tenacious enough to deliver these phone calls, text message, etc. But that's not viral. You don't need them to share it amongst each other, right? So if you need it to be shared for the purpose of A, saving some money, B, expanding your reach beyond what you're capable of already. So that second layer of folks that you know you have contact with. And then finally, the impossible to reach folks. Those people, you know, that you just don't seem to have a connection with, or you want to inspire. So if you want to inspire somebody, get a following behind you first, right? Right? You know, Linkbait was one of the first apparatuses of viral marketing, I believe, because it was something like, you know, what this mom did when she saw a spider, you'll never believe, right? And the SF Globe, the newspaper, quickly became the front runner in this. And they amassed millions of views through just sharing kind of this garbage, right? Which, you know, you go on there and she squished the spider and it was, you know, oh my God, a video. The video was entertaining, but nonetheless not warranted for the title. And so the title itself was the attempt at viral marketing, right? And then the massive amounts of that data coming out over and over and over and over again. Same approach. I think our modern news is using a viral effort 100% as an income stream. So, you know, in order for them to make money, they have to have a readership. Well, they don't make money on the printing. So, in order for them to get money made into their kitty, they have to get people on their website, you know, and be able to track them so they can sell it as advertising, just like subscribers. And so they use the social media model to then get you to follow them back onto their website to engage them. And the more engagement, the more time you spend, the more things you click, the more they can spend, get their advertisers to spend on their ads, right? And so they'll end up getting more data than most by posting things all the time. They're just kind of constantly posting things, whether they're great or not. And that regurgitation of information tells you a lot about your readership. So when you need something to go viral, if you need it to get that scope, because, hey, listen, you know, Twitter has started coups. If you need it to go viral, you need it to start in Syria, for example, with one tweet to another person or to a group of people who then share it. And then that then goes to another group of people who have to be able to get this to the entire country, because if they don't act at the same time, you know, it could be dangerous. And that in itself was viral. That's not a commercial aspect at all. You know, and things go viral on accident. So first thing this is going to take is passion. You know, to deliver the right resource and content is going to take an army, right? And so we're going to need to create some ideas. We're going to need to create a foundation of ideas. And then a guy like me can filter those, right? I can leverage my expertise and my experience, you know, expertise, whatever. You know, I've got 12 years in this market, and we've test marketed a ton of stuff. I entrance myself in your world read, research, do the data, and then find out what it is that you want, and then find a solution based around that. And I know where to research. And so instead of spinning your wheels and throwing your ideas out and thinking they're great, you can bounce them off me. I can set you in the right direction. But the first thing I'm going to do is get up on a whiteboard, understand you, right? I'm going to understand what you're trying to do, who you're trying to reach, and then we're together going to come up with some ideas on how we can brainstorm, maybe break up into little groups. The idea here is just to create content. Coming up with great content day after day after day is the challenge that you see our news organizations have. And the problem is they can't. They just can't come up with new stuff fast enough. The turnover of that news is so rapid that you can't come up with enough content to feed the social media desire. And you got to have a unique type of resource so that the other news organizations share you to really get the pop out of it. And so that would be the viral effort. But in order to get the viral effort, you've got to produce an audience, right? And so to produce an audience, you have to have your local readership trust that you're going to deliver a resource to them, right? Okay, so diving into those ideas is really, really important. So what we're going to want to do is create like 3 to 5 of those really killer ideas. And in order to do that, I usually do what I like to call, just like spewing out these keywords onto a giant bubble. I call it an ecosystem, for lack of a better word. And so I start with a circle in the middle of my idea, right? The main idea, which is, in this case, getting companies to understand who you are, right? Understanding, right? And so I'd have understanding ecosystem for companies within our reach, okay? And in order to do that, here's all the ideas we got. Boom, 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 boom. We'll rapid fire some keywords. The idea is to, get them to understand we're a nonprofit, get them to do this, nonprofit. So we put all these words out there, these hot keywords, right? And in that effort, right, what we're doing is creating this giant kind of thought bubble looking diagram, which then gives us a resource to look upon and go, hey, what out of these words creates any ideas for you guys, right? As far as a resource we can make, a game we could create, an app idea, right? An app title. We need something fired at us that generates a spark within us, right? And that idea that generates a spark within us, I'm including myself and you guys, because this is where your passion comes in, right? If you're not passionate about the ideas I create, then how is it going to go viral? You don't have any oomph behind it. How are you going to create content on a daily basis? So the idea is to create 3 to 5 good ideas, those great focused ideas. So you have a game in mind. All right, what do those games do? Let's create 5 of those ideas, and those are our 5 ideas we're going to attempt to go viral. And then we're going to create a marketing plan that incorporates a content editorial schedule, right? And so how often is content being created? Who's creating it? What is it that's being created? And now we have a map laid out for your people to write content around a certain theme, a certain idea, a certain thing that they do only. For example, you got your one guy who does memes, right? He finds memes throughout the internet and shares them on the website daily. That's his task. And they have to be within the focus of this game idea, right? And then we're all going to use the same hashtags, right? And so then we have Cindy. Cindy's doing the memes, all right? So now Jeff's going to do everything that requires him to research a little bit of video and give his ideas about it, right? And then ideas that he gets, he has to focus that into the readership, okay? So it's like, hey, Jeff here found this great video, right? Thought you moms might want to see it, right? And then hashtag it. And now we have this theme going on, right? So now Jeff isn't at a lack of ideas to write. He's writing about the video he found. Cindy, she's finding memes. She's putting them in a collection, right? Here's the 5 memes that represent this thing I was supposed to do today. And that can be written about, right? And so you could deliver those on social media, you could deliver those on your blog. I would always advise that everything lands back on your website. This way we have control over what happens to the attempted marketing efforts that we're putting out there, the attempted reach, for those people needs to have an action those people do, right? And so now those people are going to come to your website and fill out a form, schedule an appointment, download something, view this video in full, sign up for this great community dashboard that in-houses the games, right? That'll thusly be launched. And now, once they do that, the game changes. And those people are giving you permission to keep track of what they do through the internet. Lock their cookies. And that's a good thing. It sounds a little sleight-of-handed and like, cookies are a bad thing, and Europe and some of the other countries, have these laws around making sure that the users know that they're being tracked with cookies, okay? Now, cookies are only delivering ads that are relevant to you. And they're giving advertisers, like you guys, information that will empower them to give their audience, all of their audience, with that small marketing budget, the same views as it would have taken, their marketing budget, out, but only encompassed a small portion of those people that your target market is, right? And so before the cookies, right? Before you had cookies and targeted marketing like that, you were getting ads out there and delivering to groups based on demographical information that were assumed, if you go all the way back to radio, right? Based on how many people sent in a card or called up on the radio, right? And so for every 6 people that called up that day on the radio, 1,000 people were listening to that program, is what they say, right? And then they have them fill out cards, etc. And so the 6 people that filled out a card at an event are then the basis for the entire demographic. Now, are all those people that have kids that have anemia? No. Now we can find those people based on the fact they've come to your website, they filled it out, and now you're tracking them. Now you can deliver an ad at the exact moment they had time to go to the doctor and get that checkup, and that's damn near helpful. That's an alert, right? And the more people get to experience this, the better that the advertisers get. Now, let me tell you, the advertisers really are not good at this. A lot of people are missing this mark. Ads are still fairly inexpensive to deliver through YouTube, etc. For 14 cents a click, a doctor will throw 20 grand at it and not care. Last business I was in, 75% of their budget for YouTube ads was spent, their market was Branson, Missouri, all right? 75% of it was spent on people searching for Richard Branson. And so they're wasting 75% of their budget and didn't even know it. And, their advertiser, the people buying those ads for them was really to blame. And so by taking that 75 percentile of their budget and making sure that people from Branson were seeing it, made an enormous difference. Not only did people that they wanted to see were seeing it, but people that were buying their products at that time were seeing it at the time that they were shopping for it. And so they saw these incredible numbers. And so we can put that ad dollar into that perspective, okay? So now you got this little bit of budget. You have these idea people that you're going to put out that little bit of budget. You're going to put out your resource to grasp, right? They're going to download your game. And then we're going to get some information based on that. We're going to have them come to the website. We're going to trap their data through their cookies into our system and track them anonymously. We don't know their names. We don't know any of that. We just know that these users, right, are the users that come to your website, and they're anonymous. They're a number in places like Google Analytics. And then we're going to be able to track them through Google Analytics as to what they do with the rest of their website time, and whether they've come back, whether they've come back and clicked on anything in your website, and what they're interested in on your website. So now we can deliver them emails of things that they're interested in. Maybe it wasn't the games at all, for example. Maybe it was just the relationship with their kid. And so all of these things you're going to need me for as far as researching them, and then planning them. So I'm more of a guy that comes in the beginning, and a guy that comes in to kind of monitor your effects, as the results start to come in. So let's say, we have a plan of a month for this all to go down. I'd come in at the end of each week, deliver your results as far as reports are concerned, rehash the ideas that we made with you in a quick meeting, make sure that we still believe that those are the right ideas, and then relaunch those ideas into an actionable plan. And that actionable plan, and I would say that by the time you have your 5th idea here at Works, we should hit where our target is. First of all, congratulations, Wise. For becoming such an influential player in people's lives, which is why I was compelled to make this in the middle of the evening with him. We gave it a dual purpose here. A lot of this video is being used for my website and future marketing efforts. I'm happy to do it anytime. Free of charge. You need me, just call me. So we'll create a content plan. We'll create viral marketing ideas. We'll create, within whatever budget you allot for this, the resources needed and the time schedule of which those will be delivered. And then we'll create a clear plan and research that plan with a ahead of launch report delivered to the group, and then one more meeting just before launch. So we'll have this kind of planning meeting, launch meeting, and then we'll have a follow-up meeting as we plan to launch those other good ideas. In the worst case scenario you're looking at a year's content plan of something that's easy to produce content over and over and over again. You're going to become an authority in your subject. You're going to get better search results. You're going to get better social media numbers. Ultimately, you're going to be creating better content. You'll have a plethora of stuff on the website that people can interact with in the future. So it'll make your workload eased up a little bit, in years to come, because hey, there's a video about that online or whatever, right? So all of these things, then you create a reputation. You're going to create some buzz, and you're also going to create some excitement amongst the counties of which are funding some of your efforts by creating something that they see. So we're going to do all those things within the first couple hours, and then some follow-up meetings, and I'd be happy to do it. So I look forward to it. I have an uncle who's they've diagnosed him as mentally retarded. I don't like that statement, but he's living at home his whole life, and my grandparents don't let anybody see him, and it's a very sad thing. So anything I can do to empower the socially disadvantaged to get out there and live a life, I'm all for it. And bless you guys for doing that. Seriously. Thanks for taking the time with me today. Hope you liked the video. Hope the baseball talk didn't bore you. And if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. I'll make sure wherever this video is posted that I have my contact or somewhere to comment below. And bless you. Thank you. And have a beautiful life.